What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I will be doing my 2019-2020 NFL season predictions, the regular season predictions. I'm not going to do playoffs until the playoffs actually come. What I'm just going to do is predict every team's record. So we're going to make some people mad in this video. We might make some other people happy. That's just kind of how it goes. So since the season is starting next week, I think this is the perfect time to get this out just ahead of next week. Really excited for the season. Let me know who your favorite team is in the comments below and what you think their record is going to be this year. And now I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I think everybody's record is going to be. And I might give certain exclamations on certain teams or whatever. But start with the AFC East. Patriots. I'm thinking like 11-5. I think they still win the division. I think they're still kind of a cut above the rest in the division, although I think there are some teams there that are making progress. I still think the Patriots, they just came off another Super Bowl victory. They did lose Gronk, right? But they got some solid players on defense. They still got Tom Brady. They still got, some solid weapons on offense. Sony Michel should improve this year as well. Josh Gordon, hopefully, if he can play a whole season, he should be able to be, real impactful for him if he could stay there all year, stay out of trouble, and stay injury-free. So I'm going 11-5 with the Patriots. Jets, I think they're kind of on the up. They're going to improve a little bit. I got them at about 7-9. I could see them winning maybe one more than that as well. But I think Darnold can take that step forward. You add in Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley. They got some nice pieces there. So I think they're on their way up, but I think they're still going to be growing pains. It's only Darnold's second year. It's going to take him a little bit of time. He doesn't have the best receivers in the world, but he's got a decent receiving core there. So I think they're going to, show some things this year. The Bills, I got it like 6-10. I think the Bills are slowly moving in that right direction too. But I'm just not sure about like their offensive weapons right now. I think Josh Allen he's a hit or miss guy. He showed some things last year. But their weapons, McCoy is getting so old. The receiving core there is not very good. They got some solid players on defense, like Poyer, Micah Hyde, obviously, Jerry Hughes. So I think they're gonna be tough in a lot of games. I think they're gonna have a lot of close games, but they're gonna ultimately lose a lot of them. So I got them at 6-10. The Dolphins I have at 3-13. They're pretty much penciled in to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. That's no surprise. They're in a rebuilding phase. They might land Clowney, though. That could help them a little bit. But, their QB situation is kind of uncertain right now. I think Rosen eventually is going to be like the clear-cut guy for sure. But it seems like right now that he's not. I don't know if he's the for sure starter yet. I believe he's not, actually. So, and they're going to be going through a lot of growing pains. Kenny Stills, they're probably about to let him walk. They're just in need of a lot of positions on that team right now. AFC North is probably one of the toughest ones to predict because you got the Browns, Ravens, and Steelers who are all solid teams. The Browns are in the middle of a big turnaround. They looked really good last year once Baker came into play. He played really great in his rookie year. Probably would have won Rookie of the Year if he started from the beginning. But, Barkley had kind of some extra games on him, and Barkley just went crazy last year as well, so he deserved it, even still. But the Browns, they bring in Odell, they bring in Olivier Vernon on the defense. They brought in some other guys. Greedy Williams in the draft, I think they got the best cornerback in the draft. They got the best cornerback in the draft last year, too, with Denzel Ward. Then you bring in Kareem Hunt. He's going to miss half the year, but that second half of the year, him and Nick Chubb being a 1-2 punch. They've just got too much talent on this team for me to see them not winning the division. So I got them at 11-5. I think the Browns are going to show some stuff this year. The Ravens come in second place. I got them at 10-6. I think they're going to still be solid. I think Lamar still has a lot of growing to do, but I think the style that they play with him mixed with how good that defense is, and then they bring in Earl Thomas to make it even better. They bring in Hollywood Brown, who's going to probably be a nice explosive weapon for him. They bring in Mark Ingram, who's going to be a really good runner for him. I just think 10 wins is pretty easy for the Ravens, given how good their defense is and the way they're planning to run their offense. That's an offense that can win 10 games, even if Lamar Jackson still isn't the best passer this year. The way they're going to run that offense mixed with how good of a defense is, that just works. So I think 10 wins is fine for them. The Steelers I have at 9-7. Of course, the Steelers could easily win 10 or 11 games as well. Last year, they lost a lot of close games, but then you lose Antonio Brown. I just feel like it's going to be a little bit harder for the Steelers this year. We'll see. Their defense has a lot of holes. Offensively outside of Juju and The running back, I can't think of his name for some reason right now, who was really good last year. I know he's number 30. I don't know why I can't think of his name right now for some reason. But, those two guys are obviously really good. But outside of that, I just don't know. I think the Steelers are going to lose a lot of close games again this year, and they might just be one game short, But Ben Roethlisberger's still there, so, they could definitely sneak in 10 wins, I think, if possible, but I got them at 9-7. The Bengals, I got at 5-11, and I think that's kind of generous. I mean, they're kind of about to go through a rebuilding phase themselves. Andy Dalton's best days are behind him, and he wasn't ever the best of the best, even when he was at his best, but, he was good enough to, win you games, get you into the playoffs for sure, but he's definitely past that. AJ Green, we don't know how much time he's going to miss. He could easily miss half the season, and that's huge. Joe Mixon, love Tyler Boyd, think those two guys are good, but when you have an aging Andy Dalton mixed with the fact that you're not going to have your main number one weapon, that's going to be tough. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they still got holes while they have good players. I mean, they got Geno Atkins, they got William Jackson III, Jesse Bates. Those are good players, but they got holes other places. So I don't know. It just seems like the Bengals are, 5-11, maybe 6-10 at best. I just don't think they're going to win a lot of games. AFC South. I think the Texans easily win this division. I got them at 11-5. I think that's what they went last year. They're probably going to lose Clowney, which will hurt a little bit, but I don't think it's going to hurt a whole lot. It's definitely going to hurt, but it's not going to be the biggest loss in the world. They did lose Matthew too, so that's kind of a bit of a loss. They also lost Kareem Jackson. That's a little bit of a loss, but I think, when you got guys like J.J. Watt out there, you still got Joseph, you got Bernard McKinney, you still got some good solid players on that defense. I think they're going to be okay. Offensively, Deshaun Watson gets it done. DeAndre Hopkins, top receiver in the league. They did lose Lamar Miller, but I think adding Duke Johnson was actually a really good pickup for them. He's going to be solid for them. You got Will Fuller. I think the Texans still be 11-5, maybe 10-6 at worst. They should be fine and get back in the playoffs, win the division. The Titans, I got them at 9-7. They just kind of seem to be that type of a team these past couple of years, like an 8-8, 9-7 team. They're going to have close games. They're going to win close games. They're going to lose close games, but they got some solid players on the defense. Derrick Henry at the end of the season definitely was coming on strong. I still don't think he's that great of a running back, but I'm curious to see what he does this year, because if those last 4 games last year were any indication, he's definitely trending in the right direction. But the main thing is going to be the quarterback. Is it going to be Tannehill? Is it going to be Mariota? Because I think at some point Tannehill could easily take that job. And I don't think Tannehill is terrible. And I don't think Mariota is terrible either, but I just wouldn't be surprised if Tannehill took that job from him at some point. But I think they're going to be in that 8-9 win range. I got them at 9-7 because I think defensively that's going to keep them in games. The Jags, I got at 8-8. They had that great season 2 years ago, but they're kind of still in a situation. I don't know how good Nick Foles is going to be. I hope Nick Foles plays well there. I just don't know how good he's going to be, though. He definitely should be better than Blake Bortles. That's why I got him at 8-8. We need to see if Leonard Fournette can actually play a whole season. That's a big deal. If he could play the whole season, that would be very good for them. Defensively, obviously, they got studs on defense. Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Bouye. They got guys out there. They're not going to have Telvin Smith this year, so that's going to hurt, too. I think 8-8 is a fair prediction for the Jags this year. And the Colts, I'm going to have at 5-11. Obviously, Luck just retired, shocked everybody. If it wasn't for that, I would have had them probably around 11-5, battling it out with the Texans for first place. But without Andrew Luck there, I just don't think Jacoby Brissett's going to be that guy that's going to move the needle enough. So I got them at 5-11. AFC West might surprise people here. I think the Chargers are going to win this division. I got them at 12-4. I think they're primed for a big year after how they played last year. There's only a couple things. So one, Melvin Gordon, they got to figure that out. He might not play, but even if he doesn't play, I don't think that hurts the team a whole lot because Austin Eckler is going to be a solid back for them. They also have the other guy. I can't remember his name right now. I want to say his name was Justin Jackson or something of that. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but it's something of that effect. Last year he came in as a rookie when Melvin Gordon was down, and he played very solid for them. And running back, for the most part, in most situations, running back's pretty replaceable. So I think even if Melvin Gordon doesn't play, they're going to be fine. Obviously, if he plays, they're going to be better, but you still got Keenan Allen, who's a beast. Hunter Henry is going to be healthy this year, and I think he's going to insert himself as a top 4 to 5 tight end. If he could stay healthy, is going to be a problem. Phillip Rivers is coming off one of his best years. Then you look at the defense, you got Bosa, you got Ingram on that line, very good. You got, a decent linebacking core. The secondary, you got Casey Hayward, you got Desmond King, you've got Obviously, Derwin James is going to miss a little bit of time, which that's going to suck for them. So they might lose an extra game or two just because they don't have that presence of Derwin James. But he'll be back for the second half of the year and making his presence felt. They added Nasir Adderley, who I think is going to be a big deal. I think the Chargers are primed to have a really good year. Next, I got the Chiefs at 11-5. They're still going to be a force to be reckoned with, but I think not having Kareem Hunt for them, I think that's going to hurt them a little bit, because we saw Kareem Hunt miss some time last year, obviously after his situation, but they still had him for a good bulk of the year. And he had games where he took over games. Like, obviously Mahomes took over most games, but Kareem Hunt is a game breaker, and to not have him for like half a season versus not having him for an entire year is a big difference. And I think they're just going to drop some games just based off of that. Also, their defense, I mean, we'll see if their defense turns it around, but their defense was very suspect last year. They brought in, obviously, Matthew, which should help a little bit. They lost Barry. I don't know. Their defense is definitely still going to lose them games, but their offense is going to win them a lot of games as well. So I think 11-5 is fair. I just think they're going to lose maybe just a couple more than they did last year, just because that Kareem Hunt, he was a really big factor for them last year. I think Williams is going to be fine, but he's not Kareem Hunt. And, Mahomes is still young. He's going to still make a couple mistakes here or there. And their defense is going to definitely, let up too many points a few games here or there. So they'll still be in the playoffs, but 11-5. Broncos 7-9. I think they're just about league average. I don't think Joe Flacco is really going to do much for them, much more than Case Keenum did at least. They still have some solid players on defense. Obviously, they got solid players on offense. But, Emmanuel Sanders is past his prime. Phillip Lindsay's nice. But, I think they're just middle of the road. 7-9, 8-8 at best. Same for the Raiders. I think the Raiders progress a little bit. They get to about 7-9. I mean, the addition of Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams should definitely help on that offense. But they still have a lot of holes. They're still in a rebuilding phase. They added Marcus Joyner as well. They did add good pieces. Don't get me wrong. 7-9, 8-8. I think they're about right there with the Broncos. They're still, second year with Gruden. They still got a lot of changes to make, more holes to fill. So they're still going to be about middle of the road, and I think that's fair for them right now. So now we get to the NFC. First up is the NFC East. Now this one is really tricky because the Cowboys, this is a situation where I think the running back makes a big difference. We don't know if Zeke's going to play or not, if they're going to get it figured out. I think I have to give them 2 ratings based on this, because I do think there is a chance that they could get it worked out with Zeke. But if they don't, that's a big possibility. So if they have Zeke, I think they'd be around 11-5. I still expect them to have one of the very best defenses in the league. Their defense is filled with studs. They're going to be tough on defense no matter what. Offensively with Zeke, he makes that train go. Without Zeke, yes, they still have a good O-line. They did draft, a nice running back as well, so he could still be solid. But I really think they need Zeke in order to, kind of tip that scale just a little bit. I don't think Dak is the greatest QB in the world. He can definitely win you games. Amari Cooper's fine. I think Gallup's fine. But I think they need Zeke. So if they got Zeke 11-5, if they don't have Zeke, I would have them around 8-8, 9-7. That's just my opinion on it. The Eagles, I think they're going to be around 11-5. They're still a solid team. We saw them get back to the playoffs again last year. If Carson Wentz can stay healthy for a whole year, I don't see any reason they can't be 11-5. They still have studs on defense. They have studs on offense. I think Miles Sanders is going to wind up being their starting running back after a certain point, and I think he's going to definitely help them out a lot as well. So that's where I got the Eagles. Redskins, I got them about middle of the road, 7-9. Maybe they could go 8-8. Their quarterback situation is still just kind of, we don't know. I think Dwayne Haskins is going to take that over eventually, but, it's going to be growing pains regardless. You don't usually see a rookie QB just light it on fire too often, so even if he does start, they're going to have some growing pains. They got some holes here or there, but, Darius Geis being back finally could play a season for them. That should be good. I think they're going to be a solid team. They're going to have a lot of close games, but I think they're just going to be a middle-of-the-road team. The Giants, I got them at 4-12. I mean, they're rebuilding. They sent a lot of their best players out. Landon Collins, Olivier Vernon, Odell Beckham, right? Will Daniel Jones take over the job at some point? Possibly. He's looked really good in the preseason, but it is just preseason. But it is definitely positive to see him looking good in the preseason. You got Barkley, who's going to be a beast, but, he still got a couple weapons. Sterling Shepard's good. Evan Ingram, I think, is pretty solid, right? So, I mean, they got some pieces there on offense. They definitely made the O-line better, but, the quarterback situation's still bad. The defense is just really bad. So, they're in a rebuild phase. So, 4-12 for the Giants. NFC North. I think the Packers are going to finally return to the top. Got them at 11-5. I think the new coach is going to be good for them. Aaron Rodgers, is still Aaron Rodgers. Devontae Adams, really good. I think Aaron Jones is going to definitely become more of an important piece this year. They got some solid players on defense as well. I think the Packers are going to be solid this year with the new coaching change. Bears, I got it 10-6. I think they regressed just a little bit. I think the Bears are still good. Their defense is still going to be one of the very best in the league. They're going to be a pain to go against. I just still am very unsure about Trubisky. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. And even on the offense, it's just like, I like Tariq Cohen. Allen Robinson's okay. But they don't have, like, the scariest weapons on offense. And Trubisky isn't, he hasn't shown to be, a good quarterback yet. He's had flashes of showing good, but he's had a lot of bad, too. And we still need to see him really take that step. If Trubisky could take that step and just be like an above average QB all year, I mean, the Bears could win 13 games easy, but I just don't think he's going to do that, not yet. We'll see. So I got him at 10-6. Same for the Vikings. I got them 10-6. They underperformed last year, in my opinion. They have too many weapons. They have too much talent on that team to not at least win 10 games. They have two of the best receivers in the league. I think if Dalvin Cook can stay healthy for a whole year, that would be absolutely huge for them because he is a beast. Kirk Cousins is a solid QB. He has his bad games, but he's more than capable of getting a team to the playoffs. They got studs on defense as well. So I think 10-6 is just fair for them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won, a couple more than that either. The Lions, I got 7-9. I think they're going to be average. Matthew Stafford's going to win you some crazy games. They got some weapons. They got some good players on defense, but all in all, they're still the Lions. They're not like, they don't have anything that's going to blow you away. They're 7-9, 8-8 type team. NFC South. Homer pick, I got the Saints at 12-4, taking the division, but I mean, I think most people would agree they expect the Saints to win the division this year. Just the way they've played the last 2 years. Won the division the last 2 years, been really solid. Adding more talent, so I don't think anybody expects them not to win the division, so I don't think it's really that biased of a pick. Drew Brees getting a little older, though, so we'll see what happens there, but with Kamara, Michael Thomas, and the addition of Jared Cook, the offense is going to be a lot to deal with. Defensively, they've just been getting better and better over the years. They've been around average for the last 2 years, but the second half of last year, they were really good. You got Cam Jordan, you've got Demario Davis, who was great, Lattimore is really good, Marcus Williams has been a solid, competitor over there. They, they added a couple guys on the defensive line from other teams this year. So I think the Saints are going to still be, one of the favorites to get back to the Super Bowl. I got the Falcons, our rivals. I got them at 11-5. I think they bounced back. They had a ton of injuries last year. I mean, so many big players for them were injured last year. It's no wonder that they didn't have a good season, but they have so much talent. Matt Ryan's still good. Devontae Freeman back healthy. He should be really good for them. You got Julio Jones, a stud. You've got Calvin Ridley in his second year, should only get better. He was really good as a rookie. Mohamed Sanu was a solid receiver for them. Defensively, Deion Jones, one of the best linebackers. Keanu Neal's really good. Trufant's a pretty solid cornerback. They got, Grady Jarrett. They got solid players on that defense. So 11-5, the Falcons, when healthy, are always a tough team to deal with, even though, they do choke a lot of times, but, in the postseason, but they're a tough team to deal with, every single week. Panthers, if Cam is fully back healthy, I think about 10-6. The Panthers are always a tough team when Cam is healthy. Last year, he was not healthy. It was very evident. Christian McCaffrey is only getting better. DJ Moore should only get better this year. Defensively, they added Gerald McCoy, who's nice. So that they're, we got Luke Kuechly. They should still be a solid team. If Cam can be healthy, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't win 6 games. The NFC South, when every team is healthy, the Saints, Falcons, Panthers are always, a lock to kind of be those 3 teams either getting into the playoffs or, 2 of them getting in and 1 team being right on the outside looking in, because when healthy, all 3 of those teams for the past, 7 or 8 years have been pretty competitive. The Bucs, I got 7-9, middle of the road. I still don't believe in Jameis Winston, but I mean, they got weapons on the team for sure, on offense and on defense. They got some good playmakers. Losing Gerald McCoy was big, but they added Sue, so I guess that's kind of a wash, but they did bring in Bruce Arians, which I think is the biggest change. Just him alone, I think, what he can bring for that offense, he's going to have them putting up a lot of points, so they're going to win a lot of games by default. But 7-9, 8-8, they're one of those middle-of-the-road teams for me right now. If Winston can finally, just get it, kind of take that step, they could be another team that's in the hunt. And then lastly, the NFC West, the Rams, I still have them winning again, 12-4. Just too many weapons. Sean McVay, too good of a coach. Definitely, showed some bad signs in the Super Bowl of not really being able to adjust very well, getting locked up. But overall, throughout the course of the regular season, game in and game out, versus most teams they go against, they're going to be just too much to deal with. They've got, obviously, playmakers on defense. They got Aaron Donald, the best defensive player in the league. They still got solid players all around. They're going to be tough to deal with. Seahawks, 10-6. Russell Wilson just finds a way. to get 10 wins. That's just what it comes down to. Pete Carroll's still a good coach. Chris Carson, solid running back. Really curious to see what DJ Metcalf can do with them. They still have some solid players on defense as well, but I think 10-6. I wouldn't be surprised, if they went 8-8 or 9-7. Don't get me wrong, because they do have holes, but Russell Wilson, I'm always banking on Russell Wilson to get at least 10 because he just seems to find a way. The Niners I have at 9-7. Again, kind of one of those middle of the road teams, but a little bit, past the middle of the road. I have them on the winning side. I just think they have a lot of talent. If Garoppolo can stay healthy, play a full season, I think he's a good QB. They got a really good deep running back group there that they can move around. They got some decent wide receivers. Pettis looked good last year. You got Goodwin, who's a burner. You got George Kittle, who's a monster at tight end. Defensively, DeForest Buckner's a beast. You got Richard Sherman still playing well. I mean, they've got a lot of good players on that team. I think the Niners win 9 this year, and I think, in the years going forward, they're going to be a team that's back in that playoff mix. And then lastly on the list, Cardinals 5-11. They're still rebuilding. Don't think Kyler Murray is necessarily going to just blow it out the water in his rookie year. They got a lot of holes on that team. They got a lot of pieces they need to add. So they're in that rebuilding phase. I think they'll win 5 games. If Kyler Murray can blow it out of the water, yeah, they'll win more. But I just don't think that's going to happen. So that's my predictions. Like I said, let me know below your favorite team, what you think their record's going to be. And as always, I will see you guys next time.